Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Izzuddin, and this is my video assignment for creative writing class C. Okay, the first topic is about reading, writing, and teaching the short story. Okay, the first point, reading. The process of writing is divided into three pieces, which are reading, writing, and teaching. Okay, creating a cycle that goes to help oneself write a short story and keep improving each time the cycle repeats. Okay. Reading refers to revising the short story that has been created. Revising also has to look out for specific details, not general, so that the story will improve. Revising should also be done with the perspective of the reader itself, that is willing to critique the writing you have done so far, because the story is like a picture in a frame, and that there is something happening outside that frame. Okay, it helps to animate or to read better what's inside the frame. Okay, the second point is writing. While writing, we have to consider many things, including the opening paragraph, structure, character, dialogues, literary conceits, and extent, metaphor, pace, and tone. So the work in progress one contradict itself and appear more appealing for the readers. Okay, wait a second. The first is opening paragraph. As you write, you'll be alarmed to discover that there are no rules about where to start. Anything, a memory, a smell, a sound, and of course, an incident might trigger a story. The opening paragraph serves as a paragraph that could give the reader a greater sense of lift off if we assume more of the story before they start reading. Okay. Second is structure. It is a natural shape for a story, so one way to shape the structure is to construct the story around an incident that the character has to overcome. The third is character. Remember, always gives the impression that the character is living a life which the story just happens to shed light on or to break into, and that life will continue to be lived unless the person dies in a story after the story's end. Okay. Fourth is dialogue. A dialogue must not give the appearance of conveying information. It must be to characterize. Of course, it must convey information, but it must not give the appearance of doing so. 5. Pace. A lack of pace is perhaps easier to detect and put right than tone, for when the interest begins to flag, when you find yourself as a reader struggling to continue even though the story is well written, is free of cliché, is well characterized, and there is precision in writing, chances are that the problem is lack of pace. Okay, the sixth point is tone. With the problem of tone, what it means is that the author is getting in the way of her character. The child narrating has been given the experience, the sensibility, and vocabulary of the adult author that violates the tone. 7 and the last is writers can build up a world. 7 is cross story. Writers can build up a world from the individual story by setting other stories in the same place. Okay, the third topic of this topic is teaching and studying. Lastly, we arrive at teaching. Teaching itself refers to teach oneself to be able to improve. These pieces are being placed between revising and reading. After revising, the information gained will be studied and implemented into our next writing. Okay, second topic of the discussion is writing a memoir. Memoir is like a special kind of book where someone writes about their own life experience, but it's not just a list of everything that happened from their birth to now. Okay, instead, in a memoir, the author picks a certain parts of their life to talk about and tell those stories really well. Memoirs are different from regular autobiographies. They because they focus on the specific stories, how they felt about them. Right, when writing a memoir, you have to be careful not to hurt people's feelings or share information that could cause problems. So it's essential to be respectful and considerate of others while telling your stories. Okay, and the third topic is introduction to novel. There are three ways to begin writing a novel. People sometimes write whenever they are have ideas, feelings, mood, plot, or a character that pops into our heads. They only starting to write about those concepts by starting to write the words in a piece of paper. Beep. Okay. To brainstorm an idea, it would be good to know the elements of the novel. First, we have subject, theme, topic, etc. Need to keep in mind is that novel can contain more than one theme because the story that are written is pretty long and complex. Second is narrative voice. Most common form of narration voice are the first point of view from the protagonist or the third point of view. There are second point of view but not frequent than the first two. Okay. Third we have characterization. Characterization can be done in various ways, like physical description, action, speech, thoughts, or character language styles. Okay. Fourth, we have setting, whether it is a time or place. Okay. Fifth and lastly, we have plotting and structure. This is the most important part of a novel. There are basic plot that we can use, such as rags to riches, love, or disasters. And for the structures, the shape of the plot that are introduction, rising action, climax, and the escalation and climax. Okay, the fourth topic today is crime fiction. Crime fiction and the thriller in particular has its structural roots in a novel form. A short, sharp, tightly written narrative consisting of a series of increasingly intense climaxes, where something happens to the protagonist, who comes under increasing pressure, and there are elements we need to take note in order, and there are elements we need to take note in order to make and become a crime fiction writer. Okay, the first is where to start. To start, we have to make a good beginning, and there is nothing more difficult to write than the beginning. It is the beginning passage of a story which tells us how to read it and also whether we want to read it. From the beginning, we learn about content, tone, and subject. Okay. Second, we have character and dialogue. It is not crucial to have an original protagonist, but it helps. Whatever protagonist you choose, it is advisable when introducing your main character to let the facts emerge gradually. Only let out as much the readers need to know. Okay. Dialogue moves the story forwards. It communicates information to the reader. It reveals characters and establishes relationships between characters. And once you have your characters, then you need to find that character voice, and you can reveal your character voice through dialogues. Okay. Third is setting, atmosphere, and city. Apart from the protagonist and antagonist, setting is your most important character. Setting is not only determine atmosphere, mood, characters, plot line, nature of the prose. Setting is character. Setting and atmosphere helps to create and reinforce this relationship between the writers and the reader. Okay. Fourth is structure, plot, and patterns of generic formula. Many new writers have a problem with plot and structures and confuse the two. However, structure is more than plot. Structure refers to the overall design of your piece of fiction. Plot is also related to time. Another way of thinking about plot is to decide that your character wants, to decide what your characters want. The most common one in crime fiction is money or revenge. Okay. And remember not to use surprise endings that comes from out of nowhere. Okay. As a novel or story draws to a close, each word gains a weight. Think carefully about the word you use to end a piece. Okay. The fifth is point of view and voice. First person, second, and third person all have their advantages and disadvantages, and there is not the space to go into them. Here other than to say that detective fiction has traditionally been written in first person. Point of view is merely a tool that a writer chooses in order to tell the story in the most effective manner. Okay, when we talk about voice, there are two meanings: the author voice and the character voice. Perhaps the most versatile technique for presenting a narrative voice is free indirect discourse, or VID. VID is a technique effectively employed by voice discourse because it incorporates the voice of a character. A technique effectively employed by Elmore Leonard. FID is sometimes referred to as colored narration or double voice discourse because it is incorporate the voice of the character within the narration, thereby coloring the prose. Okay. Number 6 is suspense and tension. Suspense is tied up with anxiety and therefore is generally superior to surprise. Suspense and surprise, however, can work together in complementary way. The role of suspense is crucial in any crime novel and in most fiction that strives for a wide readership or readerships. Suspense in a way you make your audience worry. And the more involved your readers become with your character, the more tension they will feel. Okay. Number 7 is style. The best style for a crime writer is the one that appears to be no style at all. Okay, the crime writer must strive to find their natural voice by avoiding overwritten prose and long slabs of beautiful but dull description. Okay, number 8 and the last is research and authenticity. Research is an integral part of being a crime writer, and unless you are successful enough to employ your own researchers, then this involves going out into the world yourself and finding facts about the criminal justice system, about DNA evidence interpretation, or the best ways to pick a law. Not with a credit card reports. Okay, in the end, crime writers need to do a lot of things well. First is character, plot, dialogue, tension, and suspense. Technique and theory, however, can only take you so far. Above all, a writer needs persistence, the ability to keep going through the bad times, when no one believes in your work, when everything you touch is leaden and lifeless. Okay, and the last topic is writing science fiction and fantasy. Fantasy arises from myth, folktale, or fairy stories, while science fiction personalized natural force and human traits like anatomy, personalities, abstractions, Both genres also eventually crossbreed with heroic romance, itself a descendant of myth about gods and their half-humans, half-divine offspring. Okay. Typically, fantasies or science fiction can be used some existing templates, like the hero quest, where it is about a tyrant father overthrown by a rebel son, and about the uneasy relation between gods and human, or even bottom line fantasies where the focus, whether in science fiction or fantasies, is on the economy and technology of your imagined world, and mythotrophic, where we assume that science or magic has made economics irrelevant, and the people in our worlds are free to act out their own psychological desires in any way they choose. Okay. As a new writer of science fiction and or fantasy, you are like a quest hero rusticating in Arcadia. You read great deeds being done long ago in galaxy far, far away, and you dream of doing some yourself. But these okay, but these advantages have their drawbacks. Most readers unfortunately tend to like the same kind of story over and over again. And you are working as a craft person, even as an artist, but you create is essentially a raw resource for industry that tries to satisfy a market. With those drawbacks, we still need to fight back with doing some research as a part of your writings, and also soul search. Brainstorm with friends, especially those who share your taste in fiction, kicking around ideas that you love or hate in other writers' work, or even brainstorming with yourself. Okay, your story is not just what if, it's what if and then what's more. Okay, you are trying to evoke a world that is plausibly, vividly different from ours in at least a couple of important ways. Expand your imagination. Okay. Okay. To further help, these are 12 techniques for science fiction and fantasy writers. Number one, don't be in a hurry. Okay. Number two, make the setting a character. Remember, setting is a character. Okay. The third, make the science or magical critical to the story. Fourth, make your characters insecure. I'm insecure. Okay. Number five is make your character concrete. Number six, experiment with periscope writing. Okay. Number seven is build your backstory. Okay. Number eight is foreshadowing your ending. Number nine is keep style consistent with the point of view. Number 10 is remember the moral importance of language. Number 11 is use symbols appropriately. And the 12th is keep your characters in constant trouble. So it's good that we should try for the most original, unusual kind of fiction you can write, and not to worry about publishing. That's because the first person to benefit from your writing is you yourself. And if you write imitative, derivative stuff, you will not advance as a writer or as a person yourself. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you for watching, and see you guys. See you on the next assignment. Thank you again. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ciao.